Welcome to Red Light, Green Light, the podcast where seasoned leaders and top-tier executives in science, tech, pharma, finance, and innovation open up and get real with me and with you. You'll hear personal stories from key moments of their career arcs and how they've struggled and succeeded when it comes to moving audiences from the red light of risk to the green light of go. I'm Cindy Skalicky, storytelling strategist and author of the best-selling book, Red Light, Green Light, How Top Leaders Present with Polish, Get Buy-in, and Become More Influential. On this podcast, you'll hear from an exceptional invite-only lineup of leaders who've been in the room and at the table when stakes were high, decisions were hard, and their stories had to land. This is where expert minds share stories that shape the future. What's more, you'll walk away with tips you can try immediately to drive the vision of innovation with your team. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Red Light, Green Light. I am your host, Cindy Skalicky, and every week we bring you a leader in science or technology, innovation, finance, or pharma, and we walk through that leader's journey through storytelling, especially complex storytelling. And my guest today has definitely climbed this mountain and continues to, as we all do. My guest today is a good friend, also has been in our client list, and his name is Rod Goossen. Rod, welcome to the show.
Cindy, thank you so much for hosting me today. It's a pleasure.
Yes. Rod, I want to read just a little bit that I prepared for you so I can introduce you. Your story about Rogo Communications is really unique, and our audiences may or may not know the storyline behind why your business began. And I'll
Sure.
let you tell that story, but I'll give a little bit of a background here. Rod is the founder and CEO of Rogo Communications, and he has spent years developing technology that helps wildfire teams and others and first responders so that they can communicate with the utmost safety in some of the most challenging environments imaginable. What's especially meaningful about Rod and his work is how personal the mission became for him right from the beginning. In 2013, the Yarnell Hill Fire tragedy in Arizona claimed the lives of 19 Granite Mountain Hotshots. It was June 28th, and that changed everything for Rod, which I'll let him share about in a minute. But Rod, your degree is from Emory-Riddle. You are a technologist, a scientist at heart, and you've done some hard things around turning technology into a product line that saves lives and is also something you have to balance with how to share that storyline and show the vision to your stakeholders, right? So really excited for our conversation. Would you start out by letting our listeners know what the Yarnell Hill Fire tragedy is all about? Because it's impossible to go forward without knowing about that.
Correct. That is our whole reason for being. That's the Yarnell Hill tragedy is the reason I founded Rogo. So on June 30th, 2013, there was a wildfire outside of Prescott, Arizona. Wildfire is called the Yarnell Hill Fire. Inside the Yarnell Hill Fire, a team of 19 Granite Mountain Hotshots were fighting the fire from inside a box canyon at the time. All of a sudden, the wind shifted. Weather's everything in wildland firefighting. The wind shifted miles ahead of where the hotshots were, so they didn't have any idea that this was occurring. Incident Command did not know where the hotshots were located at specifically within the incident. They had no way to communicate with them that this wind shift was occurring. And so this wind shift, it was a cold front, and also known as an outflow boundary. So this cold front pushed the winds and thus the fire toward the location very rapidly. It trapped the hotshots within a corner of the box canyon, they had nowhere to run. All 19 men burned alive at the
Yes.
scene.
Yeah.
That event really affected me because my brother is a 30-year wildland firefighter up in Breckenridge, Colorado. And so I was confused, frustrated, and honestly a good bit pissed off. How how could this happen?
Yeah.
How could
Right.
incident command not even know where the hot shots were located at? How could incident command not warn them that this cold front was pushing the winds and the fire toward the location very rapidly, that they
Mhm.
needed to drop their tools and just and run to the closest safety zone?
Yeah.
How
Right.
could this happen? And so when I'm asking my brother these questions, my brother told me, Rod, in wildland firefighting, we are still using paper maps, compasses, and two-way radios as our tactical tools.
Wow.
That really surprised me. And so my
Yeah.
background is in avionics engineering. I've worked for three different corporate jet manufacturers. I know
Wow.
technology.
Yeah.
And so one of my core values, Cindy, is I think if you see a problem and you have the ability to fix the problem, I think you have the obligation to fix that problem. Now that problem could be something as simple as holding the door open behind you for, somebody at the store to, just holding the door open for somebody, or maybe helping an elderly person to their car with a heavy load of groceries, or
Mm.
whatever that is.
Mhm.
In my case, a I saw 19 men die due to a lack of s- poor communication and a lack of
Mhm.
situational awareness. I knew
Mhm.
that this is a problem I could fix through technology. So
Mhm.
put my engineering skills to use, and I designed this system with my brother. I patented it right
Okay.
away. And then, honestly, like I was young at this, so this is
Mhm.
13. I filed the patents just a couple months after this tragedy occurred.
Okay.
I
Wow.
didn't have any direction from 2013 to 2018. I didn't know how to start a company, but then 2018 I received some advice, got some traction, and I've been full time on this since 2018.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
We've come a long way.
that's 8 years and counting that you've been at this, and,
Yeah.
it's just been such a joy to watch the trajectory of Rogo to see continually, validation in the market, which is not very surprising, but that doesn't mean it's easy to get. You have to really be strategic throughout the messaging journey and the technology journey and the testing journey. I remember years ago when you shared something about one of the gentlemen who tested this in the Northeast. Can you refresh my memory on what that storyline was around? He jumped from planes, right? Some
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So
Take it from there.
the gentleman's name is Jason Ramos. Jason
Yes,
Ramos is a very well-known smoke jumper, and he lives
a
up in
smoke jumper.
Washington State. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes.
up in Washington State, and so he thought the smoke jumpers, they jump out of airplanes, usually during an initial attack phase on a
Yeah.
fire, and so
Okay.
they parachute out of airplanes, they land on the ground, and unlike normal firefighting teams,
Mhm.
smoke jumpers are by themselves. They don't have a team. There might
Wow.
be 2 or 3 smoke jumpers, but they're all kind of jumping into different areas,
Mhm.
perform execute certain tasks in certain places, before that fire arrives. And so he thought, he's out there all alone. He thought this was excellent because, if he breaks an ankle on landing, or
Yeah.
he gets, the parachute gets stuck in a tree, or
Mhm.
just to give a status update that you're okay, to give a status update of, all right, I accomplished task A. What does incident command want task B to be, and where
Right.
does this task need to, where's the geographical location this task needs to occur in?
Mhm.
What do we need to do next? And so that's a big problem with wildland firefighters today. I mentioned their tools are paper maps, compasses,
Yep.
two-way radios.
Antiquated.
The two-way
Mhm.
radios, might be able to cut through the radio chatter and talk to you, but if I'm at a certain spot, I don't know where you're at, Cindy. I don't know. You could be
Right.
right around the corner from me. You could be 5 miles away. I don't know.
Right.
Now, if you're a bulldozer crew and I'm a hand crew, um, I can maybe see the smoke, see where the fire's at.
Mhm.
I could use your help with your bulldozer drawing this fire line more quickly, but I don't know where you're at, so I don't know
Right.
to ask.
Right.
With our devices, we create a graphical user interface that
Oh,
shows
wow.
where I'm at, shows where you're at,
Okay.
and then also gives the ability for point to point messaging. So I can say, I don't need to know your name, phone number. I just tap the icon that represents your bulldozer crew and just be like, "Hey, I'm hand crew alpha over here. Can you please send a bulldozer over here right away to
Okay.
help me draw this fire line faster?" "Sure,
Okay.
Rob, the bulldozer will be there in 15 minutes."
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
so one thing I haven't not mentioned yet is that wildland I mentioned weather's everything in wildland firefighting. I
Mhm.
mentioned the tools they use,
Mhm.
but, there's a they also operate outside of cellular coverage more than 90%
Right.
of the time they're deployed on the average fire.
Okay.
So they're really relying on voice data from their two-way
Okay.
radios, and they don't have any sort of graphical representation of
Mhm.
where they're at, where other teams are at, and where the fire's at.
Right.
I mentioned
So
weather's everything in wildland firefighting, so I need to know what the weather's doing 3 miles
mhm.
away because that's gonna
Mhm.
affect it very soon.
Mhm. So Rod, that's where I was gonna go next because I know there's like there's paper, pencil, antiquated, methodology that's not working well. There was maybe some one-way communication early on. Two-way is possible if the weather's good and if certain conditions are right, like with two-way radios. Help us understand the drop block itself and how it works through any situation or environment because of whatever satcom I think is what you might be coming up with. Tell
Yeah,
Teach us
yeah.
a little about the differentiation.
Yes. And so firefighters have their two-way radios. The two-way radios are great for audio context. What they're missing is a graphical geospatial representation of where they're at, where the fire's at, what other teams are doing, and what the fire weather is doing downwind from them that might affect fire behavior coming toward them. And so that's what our device does. Our device, if you can see this, this is the drop block. This is a
Nice.
small portable satellite enabled device. Satellite is the logical step because firefighters are always outside with a clear view of the sky. So we have a very small antenna that plugs in. This
Okay.
antenna is both the GPS and the satellite, the SATCOM antenna, and a firefighter is just going to throw this in their pack.
Okay.
What we've done is even though you operate in a cellular denied area, we have the Rogo app. The Rogo app is specifically designed to work
Hmm.
over short burst data,
Mhm.
and the Rogo app shows where you're at on a map, shows
Okay.
where all other firefighting resources are at a map from their drop block.
Mhm.
It allows for point-to-point tactical communication so
Mhm.
firefighters can coordinate and align their tactical efforts at the edge. And then third, it sends fire weather data. Right now, we can most firefighters carry one of these. It's the Kestrel 5500. It's a small handheld wind anemometer. So
Hmm.
the anemometer talks to the drop block over a wireless connection. The drop block then sends that data out over satellite to everybody else on scene, including incident command. So at incident command, there are two people that just do weather. That's the IMET, the incident meteorologist,
Okay.
and the F band, the fire behavior analyst. The IMET and the F band work together to find out what the fire weather behavior is doing, how the weather is going to affect the fire. They relay their information to the incident commander. The incident commander then figures out what the next tactical decision should be and relays that out to crews in the field to perform those tasks.
Okay.
So
I
now we can draw a fire line on a map. I can say as
Yeah.
the incident commander, as you can see, like, Team Cindy, I need you to move to this location, this GPS location, draw a fire line from this point to this point, make it 88 chains long or about 2,000 feet. A chain is a
Mhm.
firefighting measurement term. Make it, 1,200 feet long, make it 5.5 feet wide. That'll effectively stop the fire in its tracks.
Mhm. Amazing. Okay, so I'm imagining, my next question is really around what have you learned around the ways to optimally communicate what this device does over the last, 6, 8 years, Rod? You've met with many different kinds of stakeholders, whether you needed to hire engineers and tell them what they were going to be working on, sell the device as a beta test to some smoke jumpers, and I know you've also moved outside, I think, of fire itself and into
Yes.
other emergency situations. So, if you could peel back the onion for us a little, how have you gotten better at casting the vision? What have you noticed? Like what do people get right away and what needs more hand holding for your storytelling? How has your storytelling emerged and grown?
My storytelling has emerged, and most been helped by speaking to your audience. What does that mean? That means if I'm speaking to a ground firefighter, that's one thing. Ground firefighters have a different skill set than maybe an upper level firefighter commander. They
Okay.
have a different skill set than the incident meteorologist. The incident meteorologist is much more tech savvy. The incident commander, somewhat so. Usually, the firefighters on the ground. Firefighting is a young person's sport, so yeah,
Mm.
they're all on TikTok and Instagram and all that, and Facebook,
Mm.
whatnot. So they know how to use those platforms on their smartphone, but they are not technical people by and far. And
Okay.
so, speaking to your audience, speaking to the incident commander, this is how this can help you. Speaking to the weather people who are a little bit more tech savvy, this is what we can do for you, and this is how that's going to help. To the ground firefighter, honestly, firefighters, they're a bit leery on technology, on using new technology because their lives might depend on this technology. So
Right.
it's got to work and it has to be reliable. Reliability is the key thing, and so if you make it too complicated, if you make it, they don't need to be heads down technology. They need to be heads down digging fire line,
Mhm.
maintaining situational awareness. Where are
Mhm.
you at? Where the fire is at? They need to be heads up. Heads, you always want a swiveling head in wildland
Yep.
firefighting to keep you
Mhm.
situationally aware. You don't need to be face down your phone. And so we're trying to make this where we've made this, I should say, we have made it, is where it provides light information, easily digestible. You don't need to spend a lot of time on it.
Mm.
And so for firefighters, it's like I said, not technically savvy. The biggest challenge is just communicating simply what this does, how it can help them, and then putting it in their hands and
Yeah.
kind of guiding them. Yeah, I've set up all the software piece on the back end for you, so it's very simple. You just download the app. Here's your
Mhm.
username. Here's your password. Put that in. Once you're logged in, your Dropbox going to show up on the map, and here's how it works. Very
Mhm.
simple interface. Shows you on a map. This is the button you touch for point-to-point communications. This is the button you touch to see fire weather at your location or at anybody else's location.
Yep.
And we're working over satellite, so to cut down on satellite costs, we don't transmit everything instantly in that moment. We
Mhm.
transmit every 15 minutes. So you have to get used to the fact that there is a 15-minute up to a 15-minute delay. It might send
Okay.
automatic, but like right away,
Yep.
depends where the
Right.
the timing cycle is. So
Okay.
um,
Okay.
I'm not trying to overload folks with information, which you would get if
Yeah.
you had persistent connection,
Well,
but
that's
tap
great. You
tactical critical information when it's needed.
Yes, you are touching on something really interesting from a messaging standpoint, in my opinion, which is you kind of have this built-in reality for your audience of users, Rod, where it's like, yeah, they can't have anything complex to look at. This thing has to be so simple because they're literally in the middle of fighting a fire. And so
Yes.
it's a really interesting analogy for our other leaders that are listening who, and we all do this, right? We tend to want to say, oh, but this is so cool. Look at how this button works and why the graphical is so, simple because it runs on this program and it's built on this thing. They don't care about that. They need to get the information that saves their life, right?
Yeah.
And so you've by virtue of the work you've chosen and the product line that you've built, you have to stay out of the weeds or else there's just no way your users are going to want to jump on to the bandwagon. So
Yes,
that's interesting.
and that's it. That's about knowing
Yes.
your customer, right? And so to that effect, small businesses fail for 3 primary reasons. Um, reason number 1, not the most important reason. One of the reasons is that they run out of money.
Okay.
The
Yep.
second reason is that co-founders argue and they split, and the company dissolves because they split. The third, but most important, most the reason most often that companies fail is that they're building something that nobody wants.
Mm.
So you really have to do a lot of customer discovery. You have to
Mhm.
get off the office, get out from behind your computer, go talk
Yeah.
to people. If
Yeah.
it's, on a Zoom call, fine, but if it's,
Yeah.
like for firefighters, I need to be driving my butt down to the local firehouse and speaking to these
Yes.
people, and I've done that.
Yes.
And then,
Well,
through my brother's network,
yeah.
there's a lot of folks he knows after being in the fire service for 30 years.
Mhm.
Go talk
Mhm.
to those people, leverage your relationships because in the end, it's all about the relationships you build so that you can
Mhm.
communicate with those people. You can grab their time and they'll actually listen to you.
Exactly.
The
Building
relationships and
relationship.
credibility go hand in hand.
Oh, 100%. Well, you're mentioning something that I had in my head that I wanted to ask earlier, so this is a good place for it. When I think of firefighters, I think of, obviously the residential firefighters that come if something's wrong in the house,
Mhm.
but a wildfire firefighter is a different breed, I would imagine, and I'm curious now that you've met so many of these special forces in fire and other, emergency situations, what do you what do you glean from what these men and women bring? Like, what makes it different for someone who's like, I want to be a wildland firefighter. Like, that is a big deal. And what kind of person is typically drawn to that work?
People who are people who wanna make a difference, people who wanna help others.
Hmm.
Many firefighters are both structural and wildland firefighters.
Okay.
Some are just structural,
Okay.
some are just wildland, but the majority of them are both structural and wildland.
Okay. I didn't
And
know that.
I
Hmm.
really admire firefighters because they're running into burning buildings or into burning forests while everybody else is running out.
Yeah.
I have a lot of gratitude and
Mhm.
empathy for folks who are putting themselves in a harm's way for the betterment of strangers they don't even know.
Oh,
I think
well
it's
said.
so I think it's so admirable, right? I think
Absolutely.
it's so admirable. So they're
Yeah.
putting themselves on the line. And honestly, that goes for any first responder, police,
Yeah.
fire,
Right.
EMT.
Right.
They're putting themselves in harm's way for others, for strangers,
Hmm.
just for the greater
Yeah.
good of our society.
Right.
And so
That
I
all.
really admire that. And if I can help those folks save more lives and mitigate disasters faster with
Yeah.
Rogo's technology, that's what I want to do.
Mhm.
And that's become our mantra. Rogo wants to save
Mhm.
more lives and mitigate disasters faster.
Mhm.
So
That's fantastic. Well,
what we're
very
doing.
simple, very easy to get behind. And Rod, you have such a big heart for others, obviously are putting your whole life's work and your gifting. I love what you said earlier around feeling obligated to
Mhm.
help people when you've been given a gift and a disposition or a way of seeing things. That's a really nice but not overly harsh way to say, like, get up and do the thing that you need to do for the
Yeah,
world. It gives
yeah,
you such purpose, right?
yeah,
Um, Rod, you and I met years ago when you were early on in your startup journey.
right.
And what I've noticed about Rogo, which by the way, everybody, it's, Rogo is the first 2 letters of Rod's first name and the first 2 letters of his last name,
Yeah, that's
Rogo.
right.
So they're letting the secret out to everybody. I remember asking you that or like a long time ago, like, "What is Rogo?" "Oh, it's this." And I was like, "Okay,
Yep,
that makes total sense." But you've really been able to take the initial product line and expand. So, you're reaching other markets now with the technology that you've built. Can you
mhm,
tell us a little more about 3 or 4 of those and where else this device can be used to save lives?
absolutely. So my brother, besides being a wildland firefighter for instructional firefighter for 30 plus years, he's also responded to hurricanes Rita and Katrina. And so I was
Okay.
asking him, Derek, how does it work when you respond to
Yeah.
a hurricane? He's like, it's the same thing.
Just
Paper
water
maps,
instead of
compasses,
fire.
computer radios. Yeah, yeah. The middle of Miami could be a cellular denied area if a Category 5 hurricane rolls through. That's entirely
Mhm.
possible. It's not just the winds taking out cell phone towers, it's the flooding taking out MSOs. MSOs are the computers at the base of every cellular tower that
Mhm.
does a cell phone call receivings, hands off, and handoffs
Mhm.
to other cell phone towers. So it's a computer.
Mhm.
If that computer is flooded, the computer is not gonna
Right.
work.
Right.
Yeah, so the middle of Miami could be a cellular denied area.
Yeah.
And so I'm asking him, like, when you respond to hurricanes Rita and Katrina, was it the same thing? He said yes. And so when there's no terrestrial communications infrastructure, that could be during wildland fires, hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes. All these things, sever communications lines in the ground and or take out
Mhm.
communication infrastructure on top of the ground. And so we want to be able to help in any of those disasters. Those are called all hazards disaster
Okay.
situations. So we
Okay.
want to be the go-to communication and scene situational awareness technology for any all hazards event
Right. Okay.
with the
That's
same
great.
nature of saving lives and mitigating disasters.
Mhm. Yes, it blankets all those causes and situations beautifully and, resonates no matter who the person is that would be reading that or learning about it, and that's one of the hardest jobs of a message or a brand message or a core value is that it hits every situation poignantly
Mhm.
and at a depth that creates that connection, so,
Yeah,
Rod,
it takes
let's
a little bit of imagination to
Yeah.
formulate that message and to
Yes.
tailor it to that person, but imagination is the greatest gift
Mhm.
I've been given. So
Yeah.
you
Well,
have
and
to
you
use it.
talked about level setting essentially, like, speaking to the audience, my, like, verbiage of saying that is, like, don't just know your audience, be them, and think about what a weather expert who's got more highly technical background, what could they sustain as far as listening to your communications versus someone who's a firefighter but has lower technology experience, like where do we level set the message itself so that it lands and they're feeling heard and not patronized or otherwise, right?
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
Rod, one
So-
of the questions I want to talk about is authenticity in communication.
Mhm.
And especially as so many leaders are being pulled into using AI to do so many different things, some of which are fine and others I would argue are not fine. But communication and authenticity is something I think you exude in spades. And I want to see if you could share with our listeners who might struggle with that. Like, so many of our young people are coming into the workforce and getting their first and second jobs, getting into management positions and roles, and they were holed up for COVID or whatever. Or they just, how do you, what would you say to those people who are listening who are struggling with that relationship part and that vulnerability, authenticity? How have you approached that?
Find your inner fire.
Ooh.
Find your inner fire. What drives you? So for me, it's the 19 Grand Mountain Hotshots that died. I've met 3 families of the deceased, and it's heart-wrenching when you hear these people speak about their son and what happened and details of that day of June 30th, 2013, when those 19 men all burned alive. When you hear details, it motivates me. It's that emotional strength, and
Mhm.
I didn't even realize this until somebody pointed out to me that, like, your emotion she told me, "Rod, your emotion is your strength. Your emotion is what motivates you to get this to see this succeed." And so when you're motivated
Mm.
from a deep emotional point, not just an intellectual one where, like, "Okay, I see a problem. I know I can solve this." But when you're motivated on the inside, there's not much stopping that. I mean, I believe with my whole heart, soul, and mind that this is a solution. This is the right solution at the right time to help the right people put out fires faster and mitigate other disasters. So
Mm.
it's,
So good.
because of that belief set, I put all of my personal funding into this.
Yeah. Yep.
It's been a lot. It's been a heavy lift
Yes, I know.
financially. But now that same motivation helps me to go out and find other sources for funding, and
Mhm.
curiosity is paramount to all this. So
Yeah.
it's not just that inner fire, that inner flame that you have to keep lit,
Mhm.
that motivation for you to achieve what you've set out to do,
Mhm.
but curiosity, and curiosity can mean what other funding sources are available?
Mhm.
What
Yep.
other avenues can I look at? So, for
Mhm.
example, there's something called the SBIR grant program.
Mhm.
It's a national grant program from federal agencies that give money to small businesses to come up with brand new, innovative products that start to move the needle as
Yep.
far as technology, as far as the application of technology and economic generation.
Yep.
So I'm proud to announce to you that we are a NASA Phase One, Phase Two, and Phase Three SBIR awardee. And
No.
then, yeah,
Yes.
oh yeah, thank you so much.
Congratulations. That's so exciting.
Yes,
Ah,
extremely exciting. So we're in
oh
the
my
middle of
god.
Phase Two right now.
Okay.
And then, that phase 2 comes with some real money that is helping us
Ah,
develop this product faster. And then, yeah, that's at a national level. So
mm,
there's SBIR grant programs. Anybody can, get on, grants.gov to learn about
okay.
these SBIR grant programs.
Okay.
About every federal agency with a budget over $100 million participates in this
Okay.
grant program. But there are also local grant programs. So the Colorado OEDIT
Yep.
office, OEDIT stands for
Mhm.
Office of Economic Development and International Trade.
Mhm.
OEDIT offers grants too, and so
Mhm.
we are also an OEDIT Advanced Industries grant awardee,
Amazing.
and so all these things help. But
Yeah.
where do you find out about these things? You have to be resourceful. You have to
Yes.
be resourceful.
Yeah, it
So
takes time, but you gotta put the time in and you have to craft the storyline the grant reviewers are going to attach to and find meaningful and see the vision, and you're very good at that, which is how you ended up, getting them to the green light of go, on that phase 3 from NASA. That's so exciting, Rod. Wow.
very
That
much so, and that ties a lot into what you do, Cindy. You do the
Mhm,
public speaking. Well, grant
mhm.
writing is just public speaking,
On
put
paper.
down into words on paper. Yes, and so you have to, know
Yeah.
what they're asking for. Read the solicitation.
Mhm.
It comes back to knowing your audience.
Yep.
Know what they're asking for. Know the format they're looking for those
Yeah.
answers in.
Yeah.
Be sure,
Amazing.
the SVR grants, they're very specific. You
Mm.
will use this font type, you will use this font size,
Mm.
you will use these margins. If you're outside of that, it doesn't matter how good your proposal is. If you've
Oh my
broken the rules as far as margins and spacing, you will have 1.5 line spacing. If you don't do that, they throw it out
wow.
without even looking at it.
Oh
So
my
you have
gosh.
to pay attention,
Oh, that makes me
follow
kinda
the rule.
mad.
Yeah. And there's page
Yeah.
limits and everything else, and so
Oh,
it's a
wow.
very exhaustive process doing
Yeah.
the grant body and then doing all the, financial piece and then doing all the letters of support and the other things you have to add on to that grant application to make it full and complete takes hours.
Oh, days, week I mean,
Yeah,
it is grant writing is not for the faint of heart. I have, supported folks occasionally on that process for the storytelling piece where it's like, you must like, how do we get, a comforter into a shot glass with these characters that I'm allowed 300 characters for this paragraph and 500 words for that one, and you gotta really puzzle piece all the words and sometimes the letters together to make it really count, and you know that very well. So,
correct. Yeah,
yeah.
and so another thing that goes right along with the grant writing and goes right along with your, um, public speaking piece is brevity.
Mm,
Learn how to say what you can in as few words as possible and still get the
yes.
point across.
Yeah.
Don't ramble on and babble on about stuff that's just not relevant to
Right.
the specific topic and or question at hand.
Brief. Be brief. Get
Be
in, get
brief,
out, and get better, right?
succinct. Yeah, be brief,
Fantastic.
be succinct, be
Yes.
descriptive,
Mm.
and
Mm.
then get out.
Great. I love it. Well, you're clearly doing something right with those, components of your messaging, Rod, so it's been so
Um,
wonderful to see the growth of Rogo,
thank
and
you.
I'm so glad you've come on to the show today to share a little about your updates and what you're working on, and it's just so great to know there's people in the world who are out there and have found their fire. That's probably my takeaway from today's, uh, episode. Find your fire, people. Go find
Mind
your
your
fire.
fire.
Let it fuel you toward the person you are ready to become in your
Mhm.
work and, find that passion. So, I
You
love it.
listen to your fire, all the other words of the naysayers tend to fade away. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter
exactly.
because you're
Right.
listening to yourself.
That's right. That's right. Rod, for our final question, where can people find you and what is the best way to reach you if they have a supportive word or maybe a connection for you?
I'd welcome outreach from any of your viewers, Cindy.
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
can learn more about Rogo at our website. Our
Okay.
website is rogocom.com,
Okay.
ROGOCOM.com.
Okay.
And if anybody wants to reach out to me directly, they can do that at info@rogocom.com.
Okay.
Email me at info@rogocom.com. You can check out our
Wonderful.
website, see our applications, and
Mhm.
other applications of our technology like hurricane response and all those.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
happy to have take any questions or introductions that
Yeah.
your listeners might want to have into Rogo.
Absolutely. And I would send out a call to anyone listening who is a firefighter or has connections to regions where this tool could be of use to save lives. Who could you introduce Rod to that would further his mission to save lives, especially as this fire season is upon us? And really, disaster season seems to always be upon us, whether it's rain, fire, wind, earthquakes. As you've said, there's no real seasonality anymore since you've expanded, and the fire season just seems to get longer and longer.
It
Um,
does.
and it's,
It is
I was
now a
thinking,
fire year. There is no fire season any longer.
yeah,
It's a
right,
fire year.
right, right. Well,
But
Rod,
yeah,
thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you for the good work you're doing in the world and for your teams, and extend our thanks and gratitude to your firefighters as you share this link and episode with all of them. We appreciate all the hard work that all you men and women are doing for us every day for homes and land and beyond. So that
absolutely.
has, I think about you a lot when I read about fires and always will, I think. So, thanks everyone for listening today and joining me for this wonderful episode with Rod Goossen of RogoCom. And we'll be back again next week with another super amazing guest who's got great stories to share about his or her journey into executive communication skills. Until then, get out there, go find yourselves a stakeholder audience that you would like to get from the red light of risk to the green light of go, and get out there and nail it. Find your fire. Bye bye.